This Lenovo Legion Gaming PC just came in my shop because our customer said the longer he plays on his system, the worse performance he gets, with him getting under 100 FPS just about 2 minutes in a game like Valorant when he should be getting well over 200 with an Intel Core i9 and an RTX 3070. So what exactly is going on here? Well, anytime you have a system where performance gets progressively worse the longer you play, typically it's a sign that your system is thermal throttling, which is actually a protection feature built into your PC where if your CPU or GPU ever get too hot, approaching something called TJ Max, or the thermal junction maximum, which is the maximum safe operating temperature of your CPU or GPU. Both components can actually start requesting less power or voltage coming into them to go ahead and drop temps, because less power coming in means less heat to disperse. However, anytime that you drop the amount of power a component's receiving, you also have to drop the core clock or speed that the processor can actually operate at, which results in your system running significantly slower, where we'll see just about 5 minutes in, our system's running down under 60 FPS, which is incredibly slow for a simple game like Valorant, which isn't hard to run at all. But to confirm my suspicion, we can do a couple different things. Like first, open up Task Manager, where we'll see right now we're at like 65 to 70% utilization, yet our CPU is running around 500 megahertz when it should be closer to 3.7 gigahertz, which is the base stock speed, if not higher because of turbo boost. But we can dig a little deeper by opening a cool tool called HWinfo64, which will actually tell you if your cores are thermal throttling and show us our temperatures at 75 degrees Celsius, confirming our reasoning for getting under 30 FPS a few minutes in the Valorant. Which is a little weird if you did catch it, because it does say that the distance to TJ Max, where you typically thermal throttle, is actually 25 degrees away, because that's typically around the 99 to 100 degree mark for a 10900K. So what's going on with that? Well, this is actually why I have such a big problem with certain pre-built manufacturers, because a lot of them, like Lenovo, HP, and Dell, love to put custom firmware on their motherboard, which actually limits the CPU's power input and temperature to go ahead and cut down on the risk of the system overheating. However, they always limit performance as a result, because these systems will often prematurely thermal throttle, with the most annoying part that most brands don't let you turn this feature off. But even if we could, I don't think it would help this system particularly, just because I believe the system would still be overheating. Because right now, the system is idling, there is nothing running on it, and the CPU is still sitting at 72 degrees Celsius, which is way too hot for a CPU like this, so what gives? Well, under closer inspection of this front panel, you might notice there's quite a bit of dust up there, to the point where if we pop this front panel off, we can see that dust filter is disgusting, providing zero fresh air to get inside this system to feed what I believe is a broken AIO, or at least one that's failing. Because if you heard it, you probably would be assuming that it's failing too, because it's rattling like crazy, which is the exact sound you typically hear when your pump is running on air. However, this one's actually not coming from where the typical pump location is on the CPU, but rather from the radiator, which doesn't mean it's not a pump issue, because this is a special type of AIO, where to get around the Asetek patent of having the CPU pump on the water block itself, they actually moved it to the radiator to cut costs. But to actually show you what I mean, I need to come in here and grab these little clips right here that actually hold this top panel in place and push them up. You gotta squeeze them together and then push up at the same time. And they're only on one side, so we can pull off this top dust filter. So you can see that the pump on this model is actually located right here, right where this grinding sound is coming from, which is right where this square block is, which is the pump, which is the part I believe is failing, which is causing all of this noise and temps to skyrocket. See, what happens with these particular types of AIOs, where they actually move the pump off the CPU into the radiator, they have two main problems. One, you get worse performance right off the bat, just because you have less surface area of cooling, because you actually have to account for a little pump being inside of the radiator, blocking the airflow as well as surface area that you could actually use. And the second problem is that if you happen to mount these particular designs up top, instead of on the side or anywhere else, you end up putting your pump at the highest point in your loop, which is a terrible idea. Because although AIOs are for the most part designed to not lose any kind of liquid over time using this really dense thick black sleeve tubing, well, they still do. At least a little bit of their liquid, which is normally not that big of a problem because if your radiator had a little bit less fluid because it was mounted up top, that's not a big deal because your pump down below would still always have enough liquid to run. However, when your pump's up top, it can cause it to run on air, making all of this noise, which is what I believe is happening here. We've had enough evaporation at this point where this pump can no longer go ahead and run the liquid that it needs to properly, which is causing it to grind as it's running, mixing the air bubbles inside of that AIO. And honestly, it's probably not moving much at all at this point because of the likely amount of evaporation. But a little pro tip I found to determine if that's the issue, I might be a little hard to hear right now because I have the mic on here. You can often rotate your system down, shifting where the air bubbles are. And if the system goes silent, that means you have an issue with evaporation, especially if you put it back up, the noise comes back just like that, proving that this AIO is a problem and is gonna need to be replaced. But before we do that, because this system is absolutely filthy and I don't want to be taking anything apart like this in my shop, I'm taking this system out back and blowing it out with our data vac. We definitely don't want to forget this dust filter up front because this thing is filthy. So let's pop that out and get it blown out. And we can't forget about these fans for all the dust that didn't get blocked by that filter. So with this PC now finally nice and clean, we can go ahead and proceed with getting this water block off our CPU by loosening up these 4 screws so we can pull off the CPU water block before unplugging any of the fan or pump connections for the cooler, which would make it difficult to go ahead and pull the AIO out after removing these 8 screws, which happen to hold in the radiator where you can see that pump I was talking about earlier being embedded inside of here. And because this was at the top of the loop at the highest point, well, when we started to lose fluid, well, it was running on air, causing all that noise and poor performance. And I know it was running on air because of the sloshing sound inside of this radiator, which means that there's a gap of air inside of here because of that evaporation. And although these radiators are semi-serviceable with these fill caps right here, and some people can service them, I don't recommend ever doing so. The reason for that is that for the most part, these caps were really designed for making it easy to fill at the factory. And although sometimes you can top it off, certain models do have the ability to top off, these ones where they actually have this like plastic cap over them are not ideal to be topping off. And I don't really want to give a customer back an AIO that already has a problem and is notorious for having these pumps fail because it's been running on air for as long as it has been. And because if it does evaporate again, well, our pump's gonna be at the highest point of the loop. So instead of doing that, we're gonna replace it even though Lenovo really doesn't want us to, as they glued on their proprietary backplate, which requires you to use their over $200 AIO, which you can imagine isn't worth it because we'd have the same top-mounted pump just like before. So to go ahead and get around this, one thing you can do, even though they don't want you to because of their really strong glue, you can get this fixed by actually using a little bit of heat, using something like a hairdryer or heat gun on a low to go ahead and warm this backplate up just a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and do that and stop when it just gets to the point where it's warm to the touch, where we can go ahead and turn our heat gun off, then come with some plastic prying tools. And we're gonna wanna carefully try to pry this up. We're gonna be very careful, just getting under the glue ever so slightly. And what we're gonna do is be very careful of any of the rear mounted or any of the componentry that may be affected. So you can see that we have a bunch of solder joints. We're not gonna go anywhere near those right now. We're just gonna slowly get the parts that we can up. So we're gonna go ahead and start with this bottom portion, which we can see it's moving just ever so slightly for us. So we're gonna go ahead and lift that up a little bit and work our plastic tools inside. And if we do have any corners that are very hard to get up, a little tip that you can also do is that if you spin the system around and you come to where the actual points where it's actually going through on the back plate onto the front side, you can actually push these through from the front side with the screwdriver towards the back. You just need a screwdriver that's small enough that it's not gonna damage the board in the process. So I'm just gonna grab a small screwdriver and give ourselves just a little bit of a push on these corners so that we can see if we can go ahead and break away a little more of the adhesive on all 4 of them. We're just gonna go really slow we can hear the adhesive kind of break away. And as we work all these corners, this will break the most, or at least the hardest part to go ahead and typically get off. Once we get those, pushing back, that means we have enough adhesive being broken where we can flip it back around again, add a little more heat to the back plate right here, then come with our prying tools and see if we can get the rest of this off. So we can see this corner is actually really, really good. So we're just gonna work around the corner real quick so we can go ahead and get the side here because this part looks pretty stuck. So the parts in between definitely are very secure. We're gonna be very careful as we pry this up. Go ahead and get there. We'll see that we got this whole top part, looks like we're in the clear there. If we come back down to this bottom corner, this one was moving on the front side, which is good. And I can see the glue inside there. Let me get you guys up close. But when you see I lift this up, you can see the amount of glue there. So I'm just gonna work a second tool in there and give us just a little more pressure to break away that glue. And if you do this slow enough, with enough heat and time, you eventually can peel the entire back plate right off with that super glue adhesive. Fortunately for us, it looks like they didn't actually apply it properly on these two sides, which is how we were actually able to get it off because they didn't pull the, the little plastic that actually covers the adhesive for the corners that they were supposed to, like they did on these two, which is what made it possible for us to actually get our tool in there. So fortunately for us, that made it a lot easier, but if that wasn't there, it definitely would have been a nightmare to get to. But as now we have that off, we can go ahead and swap it with the replacement back plate of our new cooler, which uses these 4 standoff screws to hold it in place, prepping it for our new AIO liquid cooler, the Be Quiet Pure Loop 3 240mm, which is one of the only AIOs with a true resealable design, so you can actually fill this one up without any problem if you do ever want to top it off. And because the pump is in the water block, we shouldn't have the original problem that we had with ever running it on air because a mass evaporation would have to take place because this will be the lowest point in our loop the second that we mount this AIO up top. The 8 included screws before peeling off the plastic off the bottom of our AIO and installing with some fresh thermal paste onto our CPU, which we can lock down with these 2 screws before plugging our pump into the header labeled CPU pump right at the top of the motherboard and running the rest of the cable back so we can keep it out of the way. So with our new cooler in and our old AIO out and the system plugged in, means we can finally get the system fired up. We'll see all the fans, pump, and lights start to kick on. So if we give the system a second, we should post just fine, except we are gonna get an error, which says error 0135, top 1 fan and top 2 fan failure, which is just because of how we changed how we had our fans plugged in. So if we go ahead and enter the BIOS real quick by pressing F1 on our keyboard, we should be able to go ahead and turn off that detection error. So if we go in here, most of the time, I'm gonna bring you guys up close so I can show you. You can disable the fan alarm error, which we're gonna go ahead and click disable, and then go ahead and click exit and save changes and exit and reset. Which will go ahead and restart the PC one more time, but this time when we go to post, we should see that the Lenovo logo, and then all of a sudden after that, we should see that Windows starts to load for us instead of getting that error. Booting us all the way into Windows now, where we'll see our idle temperatures are now sitting around 26 degrees Celsius compared to the 75 TJ Max that was put on by this motherboard at all times that was causing the system to thermal throttle. So no more thermal throttling, not under load. So let's throw it under a load and see how it behaves. By running a game like Valorant, which we tested earlier, where we saw that we could barely even run the game after just a couple minutes, where we were down to about 30 FPS, where now we're about 300. And this is mainly thanks to the fact that if we were to go ahead and open up something like Task Manager, we should see that now our CPU isn't dropping like it was before, as we're rocking steady at 4.77 gigahertz. And if we pull up our temperature monitoring, we should see that our package temperature is at just 58 degrees Celsius compared to that 75 lock we were at before, which was causing this system to be stuck in that never-ending cycle of thermal throttling, getting down all the way to 500 megahertz, which is crazy for a modern processor. And that was all caused by this faulty cooler, which evaporation basically caused this pump to be running on air. So with this now out and our new cooler with a pump where it's actually at the bottom of the loop, we shouldn't have that problem for our customer anytime soon. And I'm glad we actually swapped to a third-party cooler, not just because of that pump location, but because it saved our customer a lot. because these coolers from Lenovo, if you want to buy a specific one, is well over $200 compared to the cost of picking one up like this for about $90. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one after I get this system back over to my customer.